It's a great little town. I've been here for about 9 years. I started boxing here at Grimsby Boxing Academy. It was on Freeman Street originally before it moved here. I started there, and I got a fight coming up, so I kind of stuck around really, and it's escalated from there. I started originally, I dabbled with it a little bit when I was playing football up at university, and there was an opportunity for us to go to a boxing club, and I thought it'd be great for fitness, and just fell in love with it really from there. It gets a bit addictive once you start learning a new skill. It's an individual sport, so I just loved it really. Football took a bit of a sidestep from that to focus on boxing. And then I moved here, and it got quite serious quite fast really. And I just been chipping away at it ever since. I'll be completely honest, before I actually started boxing, I didn't watch a lot of boxing. It's always something like I'd wanted to try because I thought it'd be really fun, and I thought it'd be tough, and I quite like tough sports and things like that. I've always been quite active. It wasn't until I really started boxing that I started watching more boxing. But I think for me, Katie Taylor is probably at the pinnacle, and I just think she's a fantastic role model to look up to. So for me, it's always kind of been her who I kind of idolise and aspire to be like.
And when did you first start fighting competitively?
I had a couple of fights so I went to Teesside University. I had a couple of fights when I was up there studying, and then when I moved here, I took it a bit more serious. And Andy got me a fight, I think within about six months or something of me being at the gym. And then I've been quite regular with it in the amateurs. So I'd only had 3 fights, I think, before I came to Grimsby, and when I finished my amateur career, I had just short of 50 fights, all with Andy, all with the same club, which is really good. Yeah.
And how did you do in the amateurs overall with your record?
So I did pretty well in the amateurs. I had a bit of a mixed bag of a record, but I had a few good achievements. When I started boxing, I never thought I'd, be boxing for England. I had a few fights for England, made the England team, made the elite national final. I won the East Midlands lightweight title, the English title, and a few international competitions as well when we went abroad competing. So I think I've got a pretty good pedigree amateur-wise, and then obviously I spoke with Andy, who thought it was time now to kind of turn professional and see what that could bring.
And I believe you're the first women's professional boxer in the area. Is that correct?
I've been told that. Yeah, I'm the first professional female fighter, which is pretty cool. Like I said before, it's a fantastic town, and to represent it in some format is brilliant. We've got a couple of local boxers like Levi Giles, so hopefully we're bringing boxing home to Grimsby, and we can put our name out there on hopefully the big shows.
So you've won your first 3 fights in the professional ranks. How are you finding it at that level?
Yeah, I think I'm settling into it. We've had a bit of a rocky start, to be honest. It took me a while to get fights. It's been quite difficult for Matty Teague, who's my manager, to get me boxing really, just because when I turned over it was COVID, and then after COVID we've had loads of issues with shows being cancelled. Opponents pulling out has been a nightmare, so it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, but we've stayed consistent and trained throughout, and we just keep chomping at the bit really and chipping away at it. And I've had a few opportunities come up. Luckily enough, I managed to box twice a few weeks back. I took 2 fights in the space of a week, and that's kind of put me up to 3-0 really. So just looking now towards my next fight and what that could bring.
And how would you describe yourself as a boxer in the ring?
I've got heart. Yeah, I've got heart, definitely. Do you know what? I think I'm actually settled into the pro ranks quite well. Andy's always said that longer rounds, more rounds suit me. So I think we are settling into that, and we've noticed the difference, in just the free fights. I mean, it massively helps having an amateur pedigree of, a fair few fights behind you. But yeah, I think we've definitely settled into that. So what I had before in the amateurs, quite quick on my feet and stuff, kind of settling it down a little bit at times. So I'm adding more tools to my toolkit, and being able to sit down on my shots more and stuff, which is good. And I think over, as we progress with more and more fights and more experience, I'll settle into that really well.
And obviously in boxing at the early levels, there isn't an awful lot of money in it. Do you have to do stuff outside for work, outside of boxing?
Yeah, so I'm a full-time firefighter, so I work full-time. I also do some PTs and stuff as well. Like I said, unfortunately, there's not really any money in it at this level. It's all around, building a fan base, selling tickets, just to be able to get over the mat, really, just to be able to get into the ring. Sponsorship, I'm quite lucky. I've had, some really great companies locally that have sponsored me for different fights, which massively helps because I've got loads of fees and stuff that you've got to pay as a professional, like medicals, licenses, kit and equipment, stuff like that. So I'm quite lucky, really. So yeah, working full time, and then the sponsorship definitely really helps going forward towards each fight to make sure that I can fight.
And what are you looking for your next fight, your next opponent?
And anyone in kind of the super featherweight division. I've boxed my last couple of fights at lightweight just because based on opponents, and I think you'll find that now with female boxing, because it's difficult to get fights. Your weight fluctuates a bit. But I just want an opportunity. We want to get on the big shows. You see it now. The girls aren't having to have as many fights necessarily to get a shot, but I think I'd be a good test for any of those prospects on them big shows. I've heard that Becky Ferguson is boxing against Vicky Wilkinson for the Midlands area title at super featherweight, and I know Matt is on with that. So as soon as that happens, and there's a winner, we're going to challenge for that, and hopefully get me that and get a title. So yeah, just looking forward to seeing what that brings, really.
And what are your dreams? What do you want to get out of boxing, and what's the end goal?
I'd love, everyone says it. I think it's any dream in it for anyone to think, I'd love to win a title. I'd love that, but just to get on a big show. I went to the O2 the other week to watch Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields, and there's some real good fights on there. First pro all-female card, and they sold out 20,000. I mean, you just couldn't imagine it a few years back, and to be there and kind of feel that atmosphere and stuff, I would love that. So for me, I'd love an opportunity to do that, and if I can box and have an opportunity for a title, that'd be a dream come true.
So you're in your peak years really now for a boxer. How important is it that you really push on within these years now?
Oh yeah, it's massive. With any sport, you've got like a short window of opportunity before you get too old or you got too many miles on the clock with training and stuff. The impact it has on your body. But yeah, really coming into myself at the minute, and hopefully we've got a bit of momentum now. I've had 3 fights. I want to be active. I'm better when I'm active. So I just want to get as many under my belt as I can. Hopefully get an opportunity quickly and prove myself on them big shows.
And what can we expect to see from yourself over the next 12 months or so?
Like I said, hopefully a title opportunity. I'd love to win the Midlands area title. I won it as the East Midlands one as an amateur, so I think for me, then going on to win that as a professional is a good starting point. And then, I'm not even sure. I don't even think there is a British title at the minute for the women's, but there should be. There is for the men's, so I'm sure that's something they're looking at. The more strength and depth that there is with women turning over. And yeah, so in the next 12 months, I want big show and a title. And be able to represent the club that I've boxed at for years. We've got the little ones in the other room training, and they're kind of the next bunch. And I want them to, see that they see me training and stuff, and to think, do you know what, anyone could do that if they just kind of stick with it. So, yeah.
Do you think it's important for you to pave the way for them and create opportunities for them in the future? Oh
yeah, definitely. It's massive. We've got. You will yourself, I do, people that you kind of look up to and think, do you know what, that's possible. I mentioned about Katie Taylor, kind of where she's come from and where she is now, but we're only a little town, a little seaside town, and the opportunities aren't necessarily always there like they are in the bigger cities, but it's definitely achievable, and you've just got to work at it. And that's kind of what's worked for me, is just being dedicated and committed to it. And I just think it's a massive thing to be a role model for the next lot coming through.